If there was a man who, in a new relationship, or a woman in a new relationship, that when they got to some point in some relationship, something triggered, some open loop came to them and they didn't know what to do. And their reaction was to look through someone's phone. What would you, if that were a tarot card and you were to flip that card over and you were to know those things about if it's a man or woman, it's doesn't matter. It's more of a concept, right? What would you say about that tarot card that you're looking at now?
That they have trust issues.
Okay.
That there's insecurity there.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think that the insecurity could come from? Where do you think that program would get programmed? What are some sources of that unopened loop?
I would say the first word that came was betrayal.
Wow, that just sweeps the gambit with one word. Good God, woman. Betrayal. The feelings of betrayal, to feel those open loops, to be able to have that moment of, I know, I've been there. I know as a man, I know when there's that chemistry. And that chemistry eventually will come around to those open loops and it'll sucker punch that feeling of betrayal. And it will bring up, I don't know about you, I can say from my perspective that when those open loops came up, instead of building trust, it continued to refortify betrayal for me of those actions. Would you say the same? That it fortified betrayal instead of building trust?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would you provide as some simple guidance? Because you've had many years of helping many find that moment that even most with so many certificates and trainings and whatnot, you know. Some have it, you have it, we have it. And they're asking for it. How would you help them close this open loop?
Where is mistrust within them? What are they not trusting within themselves?
Is there a message? What message would you, if there were a couple, and this is their card that they flipped over. One who has an open loop that is not able to trust. One that is so forthcoming of information that they don't realize they're falling into the trap of that they're eventually going to be the reason of betrayal again. The fortification of betrayal. What conversation would you start?
What can one who has the information do for the person that has the open loop to help them feel that trust? What are some things that they can, when the person with the open loop is feeling that urge, can they pause and recognize that there's information there?
Knowing that we don't have the charts, we don't have human design gene keys, we don't have enneagram, and this is the only information that we have. If you had all the information about all their open centers, their types, their strategies, their authorities, their profiles, their incarnation cross, some key gates of where those open loops come in, those open centers become trash cans, and at the same time become their most optimal marketing solutions for the products or services that they have to offer. How much, what what more information would you have for these to look at?
Well, you said it in the question. If they had access to their human design charts, they could see where information comes in with those undefined centers. They can recognize that the information coming in has nothing to do with them.
That's a pretty big discernment right there.
And the enneagram,
Oh, yeah.
and adding in the enneagram, learning the stress state, the optimal state, and their normal will help center how that energy comes in, how they receive it, and what they do when they receive that energy. So if it comes in an undefined center, someone who's in an unhealthy state, enneagram, it comes out in their actions.
Reactions.
Their reactions.
Reactions.
Yes, their
wow.
reactions.
Reactions. I know that is true. Yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. What would be the likelihood of them succeeding in that relationship without their human design, enneagram, and gene keys, and knowing that for both, to be able to know how their stress state comes in and expresses at a reactive chemical nature when their cycles, or the cycles of the stars, or the cycles of the planets, or the Schumann resonance, or whatever comes up, or the people that they're around, they have no idea. How would they fare not knowing any of that information in that relationship that comes in that we know is set up for betrayal?
They're not going to get to where they set sail to.
But they go to therapy.
Well, they're still stuck. Therapy only covers so much.
I agree with you. That's beautifully stated. It only covers so much.
It only covers so much, and unless the person is willing to take that next step of growth and get out of that cycle.
But how would they do that, not knowing any of how their energy patterns or cycles are unconscious or subconscious or capable or natural or with their energy, and it feels as though everyone's riding on the bumpers of life. They're just bumping all around, bumping randomly into that person that they felt that chemistry, and that chemistry again leads to these reactive situations. How is one? I mean, they're pretty fucked. Relationships are pretty much fucked if they don't know this information. I love that you know this information. I love that we know this information. You and I were set up for a relationship that was destined to be doomed. And even through this whole experiment, even finding some place where was a mask that you and I were unable to see and we didn't recognize for years. Now we know, due to these tools and in this experiment, as it continues to change, something that potentially could be a bombshell and destroy relationship after relationship after relationship, to be able to open and blossom and expand and to know our nature and what is optimal. Because obviously chemistry got us here, and there's so much that we in our own relationship are so and how self-destructive it can be if too much is not a good thing. Too much is death for this relationship.
I would say for any relationship, chemistry, if there's too much chemistry there, it is.
At the wrong times, it's reactive. At the right times, it's alchemy. It's beyond ayahuasca, beyond tantric, whatever you want to call it. Even there's no words for it, beyond. And so for those who maybe are scrolling through their partner's phones, whether they know it or not, have agreed or forced, coerced, manipulated, duress, secrecy, whatever it is, for those who don't know this enneagram, human design, gene keys, cosmic human design, cosmic gene keys, cosmic enneagram, to be able to bridge that third to the fifth dimension of our cosmic self and be able to not self-destruct when the eternal looks at us and say, are you going to move in the way that there is will? And where there is will, there is a way, and that will, we know it. So this message, now that it is ending, the vision has been set for those to know that there's a way. So thanks for listening to this series of The Final Resort. Thanks for being the guest on today's vision of the Self-Trust Academy. You know what to do. Subscribe, like, do all that stuff. Let's get this algorithm tuned in, turned on. Woo! We are at that place. And if you know where you are and you're ready for the song of your soul to be sung, let's rock and roll. So appreciate you listening. Out.